Hello everyone and welcome. This is Alex, the architect for Back4App, and in today's episode of our GraphQL series we'll start seeing the mutations. As you remember from the first videos, a mutation is when you change data on the backend. It doesn't matter if you're going to retrieve data as well, but if you're changing data at some point, it needs to be a mutation. And I have here the database we created for our advanced queries series, and here we have the dogs table with a few fields already populated. And back here on the GraphQL console we'll be taking a look at the mutations, object mutation, and we have the specific methods, for instance, for creating dogs, updating dogs, deleting dogs, and we have the generic methods create, update and delete that can operate through any classes. So what's the advantage of using a specific method instead of a generic method? Well, the specific method relies on the schemas already created for the database, so you need to have your classes already created prior to using the specific methods. But once you have the schemas, you can also rely on the autocomplete functions of the GraphQL API console. If you use the create, update and delete generic methods, you can operate on any class, but you won't have the schemas for those classes, so you won't be able to use autocomplete. So let me hide this and let's start a generic mutation. As you can see here, I don't have any owner class. I'm going to create a owner class for the dogs. So back here on GraphQL, we'll start typing mutation, and it will autocomplete for the basic words. And inside the mutations, I have to pass the objects for that mutation. So objects, and we will start creating a new object for a class, and as parameters we will have to pass first the class name. Class name is a string, so I'm going to type owner, and once I have the class name I have to start typing the fields for that. So fields, and now I can pass all the fields for my owner class. Let's say an owner has a name, and you see it will not autocomplete. I have to type specifically the fields I want, and let's call this one Alex. Oops. Oh, I missed a semicolon here. There we go. Alex. And let's say the owner has also an age, which will be a number, so 38. And let's say I have a owner height, which will be 1.75 meters. And as you remember, every time I call a method in GraphQL, I must specify what I'll be returning. So here I can count on autocomplete. I can type Control space on a Windows or Option space on a Mac, and it will show me what objects I can retrieve. I can retrieve an object ID created at or both. I'm going to return both, so created at. And if I play this, you'll see I'll have my object ID and created at, and if I go back to database browser, you'll see now I have my owner class with my name, age and height on the specific data I passed. So this is how you use the generic methods, which does not rely on autocomplete. But I do have already a dogs class which has a schema because I already created all the fields for that. So let's use that to create a new dog. Back to GraphQL console, I'm going to delete all this and keep the mutation and objects which are basic. And let's start with the method create dogs. That should be there. And now that I have the schema for that, I can pass the fields for this, and it will autocomplete for all the properties I have inside my dogs class. those properties we can see on another window here are name and description and size, but you don't have to know any of that when you're using the specific methods, because if you type Control space on a Windows machine or Option space on Mac, it will show you everything that you can pass as a field. So for instance, I have a name, and let's call this one Rexy. And after that, I have, let's say, a description, which will be very smart dog. And if I just play this, it will probably give you an error because I didn't say exactly what I should retrieve. I always have to tell GraphQL what I'm retrieving, so I can retrieve the object ID and the created at properties. There is a. And now if I run this, I've got my object ID and created at, and if I go back to database browser and go to dogs, I'll find Rexy right here and very smart dog. So if you know exactly what you're going to retrieve on a mutation or a query, you can use the generic methods. But if you want to count with all the schemas for the classes and autocomplete functions, which makes coding much easier and less prone to error, you should use the specific methods. Alright, so I hope you liked this episode and keep turned on for the new episodes. We'll be releasing new content about GraphQL soon. I hope you enjoyed this and hope to see you back on the next videos. See you soon. Bye bye.